to weigh my tears. Not even in a million years can I ever repay you for what you've done for me. You were there when I felt that there was no place for me. You were there to show me how to truly believe in the miracle of creation, in the good and the bad. Oh, how I love you, Mom and Dad.
Bismillah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I am Nazir, son of Nasib of the family Al-Mujaahid, founder of OutstandingMuslimParents.com, and excited to welcome you to the show Outstanding Parents here at Huda TV, where we encourage you to become outstanding, because this is the outstanding zone after all. And who wants to be average? Think about it, especially when you understand that average is nothing but the top of the bottom and the bottom of the top. So, alhamdulillah, we discussed a number of different tips. And today we're going to go into more, because tips many times are a quick shortcut to making a big difference. So, inshallah ta'ala, we're going to have another episode about tips today. And with these tips, find out which ones you can use and customize for your family. Make them yours. Get some results. Implement them. Don't just say, oh, mashallah, that's a good tip. And keep it intellectually. You know, if you're going to say, mashallah, that's a good tip, use it. Get some benefit from it. If you don't have any children yet, take a side note of it. So when it does come, well, alhamdulillah, you already start out as an outstanding Muslim parent. Okay? So what I want you to do is grab something to write with and something to write on, because, well, alhamdulillah, we're going to go through some more amazing tips today. And I think that you're really going to enjoy them, because they add so much more satisfaction to our lives. We talked about rules and values and beliefs and how to feel good. And these tips make us feel very well. I mean, not only do they feel good just to do in and of themselves for ourselves, but when we do them with our children, we're planting those seeds. And remember, we have those very important 3 roles as parents. We have that celebrity, where we're that role model. We're exemplifying what we want them to do and be, because we start out by Allah Ta'ala giving us that celebrity role. Number 2, we're that confidant. We go and we encourage them and we let them know how to read between the lines, and we give them that secret information that many people don't know about. And number 3 is we're that coach. So these tips mixes all of them together, but the tips really is the coach. The coach is doing his job here. Okay? So utilize this, inshallah ta'ala, no matter where your children are, whether they're small enough to fit right here in my hands, or they're bigger, or even bigger than you, or larger than you, right? Taller. I'm telling you, subhanAllah, as they grow, it is an amazing thing to watch them. So, but as they grow, it is an amazing thing not only to watch them grow physically, it is an amazing thing to watch them grow toward Islam, and to see that what you're putting inside of them is coming outside of them by their own volition, by their own choice. So let's talk about some more tips. The first tip we're going to talk about today is sharing a good childhood memory with your child. Sharing a good childhood memory, all right, from your childhood as you were coming up. No matter how painful, no matter how bad things were, you still had something positive, some good memories in there somewhere. For example, if you think about a woman who was abused, who was raped and constantly tortured and taken advantage of sexually, and just told she would never be anything, it was just done very, very bad, right? Many people would not expect that this person would overcome these things later in life and go on to become a billionaire and own our own TV show network. And the reason I use her as an example, because no matter where you are in the world, you probably heard of Oprah Winfrey. She went through lots of different pain and lots of different challenges. And even though with all the pressure, with all the drama, with all the strife, with all of that, even being pregnant and having a stillborn child from a relative, a'udhu billah, even with that, to overcome it and still be able to look back on childhood and take lessons from that time and still share good things that did occur. So, share a good childhood memory. Share it, whether it be about some events that happened in your life, how you looked at something, how you may have been right, how you may have been wrong. It's okay to be vulnerable with your family, with your children. You're human, right? Then be human. So it's not difficult. Whether you fell down when learning how to ride your bike multiple times and started crying like many of us do, all right, share some information from your childhood and build that bond. They want to know. They may not ask you, but they want to know. And they appreciate you reaching out. So alhamdulillah, may not be the easiest for us to do as parents, but we can do it. That's the first tip. The second is to share an Islamic principle of marriage and why it's important. Okay? And then you want to, of course, ask them what they eventually want in their future husband or their future wife. Now, this may be challenging, especially for fathers. But I asked the question before. I discussed Islamic principles of marriage and what should be there. Now, it can be a challenge for a number of different reasons, depending on how your marriage is, if you're married right now. Okay, if you're not married, of course, you can see right there. That can be a challenge. But alhamdulillah, if you are looking to get married or remarried or whatever the situation may be, then, of course, you can discuss what you're looking for or what good principles are. Or you could also share some of the lessons on what weren't there, but it's always good to focus on what you want as opposed to what you don't want or did not have, because that could lead to complaining, ghibah, gossiping, and stuff like that. So a good principle. Again, it's not necessarily easy, especially for fathers. All right, we're the guardians. We are the wali that someone must come and talk to. And alhamdulillah, I got an agreement from my oldest daughter. I asked, what age did she think about getting married? And she was younger. I think she was preteen at the time. And she said 28. I was like, yes. 28 years old, far off, don't have to worry about it for a while. So I reminded her of that as she became a teenager. And then she wanted to change the agreement. She wanted to move it from 28 to 25. And I'm asking why. And I'm like, you have to get this in writing because we had an agreement. You said 28. Now you're trying to go back in your agreement. That's not good to go back on your word. Then it went to like 22, so it's stuff like that. So we discuss it, but alhamdulillah, you talk about the principles, you talk about things that are there. Usually it's easier, of course, for a father to talk to son and a mother to talk to daughter. So whatever it may be, one of the parents can discuss this, talk about marriage and why it's important, and then at the same time discuss a principle and what they're looking for in a husband and a wife. All right, this is important. Important for a few different reasons. One is it encourages chastity. It encourages them, knowing that, especially in the West and how easy it is these days, to have illicit relationships. And unfortunately, this is rampant throughout the Muslim community. This is encouraging marriage. This is letting them know that you're open to speak about it, so when the time does come, that they can continue talking to you about it. You already have some type of agreement. Even if you discussed it, started talking about 6 or 7 years old or 8 years old or 12 or 13, it really doesn't matter the age, but the discussion is open right now. Okay, so discuss that because you want to protect their chastity. You want to protect what's between their two legs and encourage to check what's between their two jaws. All right, that tongue. So, alhamdulillah, that's the second one. The third one is try to see what you can do to serve the less fortunate every single month. Again, like I said, if you're watching this right now, then you have a lot more than many people, billions of people literally on the planet. You have access to electricity, you have access to an internet connection, when most people don't. So alhamdulillah, you should be grateful for that, right? So serve someone less fortunate, even if it's just giving someone a meal, or if you have the opportunity somewhere to go serve at a homeless shelter. You go visit a hospital, a burn unit, you visit some children, you take some balloons, you go talk to some older people, you visit some sick people, all right, not contagious, but you go visit some older elderly people whose family probably does not come to see them. They'll be happy to see you, even if you're in a non-Muslim country, especially in the West, like the United States. You go see some elderly people, they're happy, they're sharing life stories, they're happy someone has not just thrown them away. But once a month, go serve people, go give, and see how good that makes you feel. See how good you feel about it, I should say. Can't make you feel good, you choose to feel good. But see how that adds value to your life, once a month. All right. Now, when I'm talking about your life, I'm talking about you taking your children with you because you want them to grow up to be grateful, not being little snotty slobs that are ungrateful for stuff. I see it too much in the Muslim community. Children have all kind of gadgets and gifts and complain about this new car that they received, and they had this big house and they don't appreciate it like they're, some Beverly Hills or OC kids or something, Orange County kid, just ungrateful. We don't want to encourage that type of behavior. Matter of fact, we want to discourage it and remind them where they came from. Remind them where Islam started. The Prophet ﷺ talking about the followers of the prophets were always the poor and the downtrodden and the oppressed. So we can already see just by understanding that what some of the problems are in many different masajid when they only allow people with titles and positions of power to be amongst the board, for example. So keep that in mind. Visit somewhere once a month to keep yourself grounded and grateful. All right? So that's the third one. The fourth one is ask what fact of creation impressed them this week. So, folks, it doesn't matter if we're talking about a blade of grass, a flower, something in the ocean, different animals, something they learned about themselves, their bodies, their cells, their brains. Ask them what impressed them this week about a part of Allah Ta'ala's creation. This causes them to have to reflect, have to look deeper into different things. So, alhamdulillah, this is a very great one. I learned that one from my wife right away. And the fifth one, compliment them on their beauty, cleanliness, or teach them how to attain such a thing. Compliment them on their beauty, their cleanliness, or teach them how to attain it. We know that cleanliness is part of Iman. So as cleanliness is part of Iman, we want to make sure they're clean and they look good and they're beautiful. Their area is clean and it looks good and is beautiful. Why? Because Allah Ta'ala loves beauty. So we're teaching these Islamic principles while teaching them how to practice it in their daily life. Very simple to do. Now, if you have sons and daughters, we're going to talk about creating standards for men and creating standards for women and characteristics they can live up to and should want to live up to. Now, this is not necessarily easy, but if you have sons, you can talk about characteristics of strong men. How do we know where they're from? We could look at the companions. We could look at the best generation and those that followed them, and then those that followed them. Strong women, same thing. So we want to talk about standards of men. We want to talk about where Allah Ta'ala says men are the protectors and maintainers of the women. What does that really mean? How do we have examples of the Prophet ﷺ and his companions that did the same? You know, what about Mu'mineen? What about the 4 most righteous women that ever walked the planet? What was it about these women? You know, let's talk about those standards, okay? Because that gives us a bar that is already set amongst the best, amongst what Allah Ta'ala is already pleased with. So if we can look at these characteristics and talk about it on a weekly basis or every other day with our children, then we're help building up their character and giving them the idea of what they should be striving for. Well, alhamdulillah. Those are just a few tips, and inshallah ta'ala we'll have some more for you as soon as we come back from the break. So stay tuned, make sure you have something to write on and write with, and we'll go over a few more that you can implement right away, inshallah ta'ala. See you in a second, inshallah. Stay tuned.
Oh, how I love you, Mom and Dad.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم قالوا أجئتنا لتأفكنا عن آلهتنا فأتنا بما تعدنا إن كنت من الصادقين
له ملك السماوات والأرض وإلى الله ترجع الأمور
فلما رأوه عارضا مستقبل أوديتهم قالوا هذا عارض ممطرنا بل هو ما استعجلتم به
أخا عاد إذ أنذر قومه بالأحقاف وقد خلت النذر من بين يديه ومن خلفه ألا تعبدوا إلا الله إني أخاف عليكم عذاب يوم عظيم
فيهما عينان نضاختان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان فيهما فاكهة ونخل ورمان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان
القوم الفاسقون
Sent from Allah to an angel then to a man. That man was Muhammad, the best of creation.
Bismillah, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Welcome back. So, inshallah ta'ala, in the first part of this episode, we hope you got some great tips and you can see how you can put them into your life right away, especially when we're talking about the creating standards for young men and women. And because we can start early and we could plant these different seeds and we could watch them grow and we could watch that harvest, inshallah ta'ala. And then, alhamdulillah, the great thing will be once we are at our children's nikah, inshallah ta'ala, we live that long to see them be married, or they live that long to be married. And Allah ta'ala blesses them with that. We can see the fruits of it. Walhamdulillah. Walhamdulillah. Now, to continue, another great tip is to find a story of the ulama. Find a story of an alim. Find a story. It doesn't matter necessarily who is long, a scholar. For example, if you look at the story of Imam Shafi'i, radiyallahu anhu, rahimahullah, it's very interesting what happened with the persistence of his mother. What happened during her pregnancy? Find out about that. What happened when he was very young? How was she so persistent to get him accepted in different areas? How did she travel and make that commitment? What happened with Imam Shafi when he went to go see Imam Malik, I believe? What happened? When Imam Malik was like, he gave him an assignment, he had already memorized it. You know what I'm saying? So find out of these stories and share the drama of their lives. What happened with the Imam Shafi when he moved to Egypt? Find out the stories and share them. Go into them. You don't have to dig all the way deep into it right away in one sitting in part of the week. You may just read a few pages, 5 pages, 10 pages, or listen to a lecture online, 30 minutes, 60 minutes. Find out a story and share the drama of the stories. What about the ulama who were locked up? What about them who were political prisoners? What about them who didn't bend to the will of the rulers? Because they feared Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala more than they feared the rulers. What about those scholars? Share their stories. Islam is replete with them, unfortunately. But the power in the character that it will build in our children to be able to reflect on that and see that this is nothing new. Islam and Kufr has been fighting from day one and will continue. So share the stories of the ulama, develop your love for them and their scholarship, because surely the scholars are the inheritors of the prophets. Now, number 8 would be point out a problem in the present Muslim community. But don't stop there. Point out a problem in the present Muslim community, wherever you live or across the country, what have you, and point to its solution. We have enough problems. We can talk and discuss problems all day, and unfortunately, that's what a lot of masajid do. They discuss problem after problem after problem. When we can focus on a problem, we're focused on the solution. I prefer to focus on the solution, because then once you do that, then you can move forward. But if you continue to focus on problems, there will be an ongoing, endless list of problems. But when we focus on a solution, and usually the major solutions first, then we get more accomplished. So focus on a problem. Just a number of problems. I can just give you, for an example, in the community in which I live, racism is pretty heavy. That really is rampant amongst many communities, unfortunately. Classism is just another form of it, where if you want to go to pray Salatul Eid, you have to pay at least $20 to $30 to go park and then pay the fee to get there. And, you should be simple. So, tens of thousands of dollars tend to go many times to non-Muslim organizations, when it can go to a Muslim organization, or that money can be used for the Muslim community, but it's not. I'm not saying whether it's right or wrong, but there's some classism involved there. The Eid brunch is $50. You're really kind of only inviting a certain crowd, if you will, if you understand what I'm saying. So there's racism, there's classism, there's infighting that goes on, there's ignoring the plight of the ummah. There's, if you're going to Salatul Jummah, but you don't know, or they're not speaking about what's going on in Masr. We don't hear what's going on in Egypt. We don't know what's going on in Syria. We don't know what's up in Philistine. Because we're too comfortable back in the West at home. That's not what we are. We're ummatin wahida. We're supposed to be one ummah. We're supposed to be concerned about every part of it. As the Prophet ﷺ warned us, if one part hurts, the whole body is awake with fever and hurts. He said this ummah is one body. If one part of it aches, the entire body has fever and is awake, suffering because of it. So we must be aware of what's going on, not only in our own local community, but we have to know nationally. But our local community also, or internationally, our own local community must be discussing it at least finding some solutions, what a problem is, what's going on, how we can help support, how we can get our barakah and relieve the weight from our necks. Very, very important. Discuss this with your children. Helps them to think critically. Okay? Now, of course, we're going to talk also about hijab and beauty. And when I say hijab, unfortunately, Muslims have the perception that hijab means head covering for the women, and that's not it. The whole hijab is the covering of the awrah. The men have hijab, navel to knee. Women have hijab as well. All right, basically the whole body except face and hands. So talk about it and its importance. Because we discussed before how in the West, when it comes to women's dress, is really based on three things. The Western concept or the non-Muslim concept of dress is, number one, you cover for beauty. Number two, for the environment. Number three, for the awrah. So number one, for beauty. Two, for the environment. Three, for awrah. Well, the Islamic way is, number one, you cover the awrah. Then you cover for the environment. And then you cover for beauty. So it's almost the opposite. So you can go to the West, you can see on a hot day, Muslim woman covered fully. She's hot, yep, but she covered the awrah first. Then protect herself from the elements. And then cover for beauty. She might have a certain style she wears or likes to wear with her abaya or jilbab or what have you. When on the same hot day, you could have non-Muslim women in general. Like it's 100 degrees where I am right now. It's 100 degrees outside. And I'm fully covered except my face and my hands, right? Well, Muslim women can be fully covered properly with proper hijab, obeying the proper Islamic principles of hijab, right? Then you could have a non-Muslim, for example. Same hot day, short shorts or skirt, bikini top, totally out, right? That's dressing for beauty, or what they just say is beauty, if you will, where the man says is beauty, because it's really for to be toys or just to do whatever men say. That's really objectifying, in my opinion. However, it's for beauty first. Two, not even really the elements. Not even really the elements. Because if the sun is shining and you just have your bare skin out, well, you could get burned. It's very interesting because you see people in the desert, they don't just walk around, clothes all off. They cover their heads up with towels or whatever else they can cover themselves up with to protect their heads. Okay? So they're covering for beauty, whatever style that is. Then, covering up for the elements, if you will. And then cover the awrah last. So they might have a bikini bottom or some shorts or skirt or something like that, and then covers the top. So that's the last thing they cover, when Islamically, they're still hot, either or, both of the women. But Islamically, the women cover fully, they're hot, and the woman who's half naked, she's still hot. So taking off their amount of clothes didn't stop the heat. The only challenge is bringing them closer to a different type of heat in the akhirah. A different type of heat in the akhirah, to not cover properly. So discussing hijab, and it's important for men too. Okay, it's very important for men and boys too, because with this homosexual agenda, men are walking around wearing homosexual jeans. What I think are homosexual jeans are what's called skinny jeans. They're all skinny and sucks up all on them, and they have low-rider jeans for men. This is ridiculous. All right, this homosexual agenda is being pushed far and wide in the West. I mean, anytime Obama goes and says, he's for gay marriage and he endorses it and so on, and then the NAACP, supposedly civil rights organization, comes and say, we declare that a civil right. Civil right for behavior? SubhanAllah. The same disease, the same filth that Prophet Lut had to deal with, the same thing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent, I believe it was Jibril, sent the angel to come destroy it. Lift it up, pound it down, literally lift it up, with the corner of the wing, lift up Philistine and Sodom and Gomorrah, slam it down numerous times where we know it's the deepest depth part of the earth today, and still see the sign of it in the Dead Sea. And this is the sin they're committing, but our boys are walking around and you can see you can see the outline of their clothes. We know that if you could see the form of the person's body, then that's not part of hijab. That's not covering the awrah. So it's important for our boys not to be walking around unknowingly, or even knowingly, especially knowingly, that they're walking around wearing homosexual clothes. Well, it's a shame. I saw a boy, a non-Muslim, walking around with this pink shirt on, pink hat, pink shoes, as though that was something cool. That's really a shame. I have some other thoughts run through mine about what that was, but you know what? It's important we discuss hijab. It's important we discuss it because we just talked about standards. We just talked about marriage. We just talked about protecting oneself. And in protecting oneself, we have to be clear. We must discuss these things. So from navel to knee for the men, body for the women, and discuss what it is between women. Discuss what needs to be covered so far as the outer between women and women and men and men. Understand these rules and regulations, alhamdulillah, because as we discuss them, then we won't be disgusted if our children are disobeying them out of ignorance, because it's a reflection upon us, right? And we want them to be protected. We want to be the confidant. So let's do what we need to do there. The last thing, the last tip, or the 10th tip today, is about the Quran. Now, these are not in any particular order, but discuss the Quran. And there's so many different things you could discuss about Quran. For example, you could discuss the structure of Quran. You could discuss how it was revealed over a period of 23 years. You could discuss how it was preserved. You could discuss the oral tradition of the Arabs and how their memories and language is of Fusa Arabi. You could discuss the Hizb, what a Hizb is, what a Juz is. You can discuss in the Quran how approximately a Juz is about 20 pages. You can discuss what Meccan surahs are and how to tell. Okay, what surah were revealed in Medina and how to be able to tell, right? We could talk about its transmittal, its compilation. We could discuss what happened during the time of Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, when Omar came to him talking about, hey, we need to put this together in a book, because those who are the ulama, the scholars, you know, the companions didn't understand what was going on. They were going to fi sabilillah. Many of them were dying shahada. They understood the significance of it. So we talk about that, the compilation of protection. We could talk about the added vowels as Islam spread, and for non-Arabs like myself to be able to see the Arabic and understand it and read it properly. You know, because these vowels, this fatha and the damma, these didn't exist in the original Quran. So we can talk about that and discuss it, and alhamdulillah, have more meaning and have more closeness to the speech of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. These are just 10 tips that we can go ahead and put into our families' lives right now. No matter the age, find out which ones you could do right now. That's most important. Choose something and do it. You don't have to do all 10. Do 2, do 1. But do it consistently and make the difference in your family, because you know, just like I know, a wish changes nothing, but a decision changes everything. And of course, we want you to go to the website, get the resources and the worksheets that we have prepared for you at outstandingmuslimparents.com/10more-tips. That's 10 more tips. Outstandingmuslimparents.com/10 more tips. And I'm Nazir, son of Nasib of the family Al-Mujaahid, signing off. Wa assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
My world was crumbling down, and you tried your best to shelter me from the coming of the storm. You opened my eyes to see that all hope was not gone. You held me in your arms and wiped away my tears. Not even in a million years can I ever repay you for what you've done for me. You were there when I felt that there was no place for me. You were there to show me how to truly